about this, and I go, let's talk about sunlight and how we metabolize sunlight, and then we can add D as part of that, and then it's a more interesting talk. And then a bunch of you went, yeah, let's look at that. So what are your sunlight vitamins? So first of all, the next thing that we need to go into is the way we study science and the way our brain works is completely twisted. Aristotle kind of changed the science, as one man's accusation, about 2,000 years ago to a matter-based science and went away from like frequency and more feeling-based sciences. And so the very premise of how we think is faulty. Because when I started studying Oriental medicine and macrobiotics in the 90s, I realized if I'm going to study something from Japan and China, I better study the culture. So I have a context for how they think. And so there's, if you write in pictures, right, little pictograms, it's a much different way of thinking than if you're writing in letters. And I believe English is the most brainwashed Orwellian language on the planet. I am happy, I am sad, I am cold, I am hot. What do they say in Latin? I have, not I am. So our limbic system is in a disaster all day, every day. I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm happy, I'm sad. No, we're not. They're temporary passing states. So we don't think about consciousness, right? Consciousness is being messed with every day in the West because it's inverted. David Icke speaks to it. I'm on David Icke as a whole. We won't talk about David Icke too much, but he talks about the inversion, right? And he's correct.
He's cool.
It's all inverted, gaslight, like up is down, down is up, good is bad, So, sunlight's no different. So, I didn't even sell supplements. I've been practicing since '96. Wow. So I didn't even sell supplements until about 13 years ago. And I've been a pricer for about 20 years. So I got, this is my first. Sally Fallon's book was first, and Dr. Natasha's GAP's book was second. Because I was one of these people. I'm still on the spectrum, I'm still on the spectrum, let's be clear. If you look at the autistic questionnaires, I took it and I'm like, oh my God. I'm on the spectrum. So, price changed my life as a nutritionist because this was about 2001. I'd been started in '96, and then Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. Some of you've read that. That's really Price's groundbreaking work, and if you haven't read that, then you really don't really understand Price. Because he went around the world, I don't know, did he pay for it himself or
Yes.
out of his own pocket?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Wow.
He wanted to know enough. He traveled the world. Was it 16 cultures? 17 cultures? 16 cultures? 17 cultures? A lot of cultures. And so he collected teeth data. And he's looking at so guess what happened? The average native culture before exposure to white man brainwashed foods was 2 to 3 cavities per 100 teeth, I believe. And then upon one generation of exposure to white man brainwashed foods, 27 cavities per 100 teeth. Now that's data that shouldn't be ignored. And back in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, Price was meeting with the head of Standard Process, Dr. Royal Lee. They were both dentists, by the way. Dr. William Kelly, the famous cancer therapist in the 60s, he was a dentist. I get to going, nutritionist dentists, because they were seeing this teeth thing. And they're like, what the fuck is going on? And then Pottinger, some of you know Pottinger's work. Well, these poor cats couldn't reproduce after when they cooked meat, cooked dairy, the zoo chow.
Yeah.
They couldn't reproduce after one generation or two.
They skipped a generation.
They skipped a generation.
Yeah, so it was like the grandparents, the child of the grandparents. That was the generation where it showed up, right?
So we talk about the reproductive problem in this country.
2 generations.
2 generations. So the reproductive problem is we're a mammal. And the clue is 100 years ago they called arthritis cooked food disease. 100 years ago they were calling arthritis cooked food disease. So when you're building a house and you decide you want to cook your bricks and chip them up a little bit before you build the house, is your house going to be very strong? One of my teachers, Janet Lang, in the last 15 years at Standard Process, she was a hormone teacher, and she said, if the airline industry treated their planes the way we treat our bodies, we'd have planes falling out of the sky. Because we're putting in damaged replacement parts. So, and most of our connective tissue is protein. People that too much calcium bullshit. Calcium. So it's like this. Calcium is constipating and slows down the thyroid, folks. You don't want too much of it.
How about diatomaceous earth?
I think that like bone broth and raw bone meal and DE, there's other ways to get silica is actually a better way to get calcium.
Oh, I just wanted to say, because we were going to say this at the beginning.
Okay.
Try to hold your questions unless it's a definition kind of question, unless you don't understand something that Craig says.
Clarification,
Yeah, because he's got a lot of material to cover.
I mean, I could go for 3 hours, and you guys wouldn't believe 3 hours went by. I have clients. I think you might have been one of them. Like, I turn off the clock and go, let's just see what happens, and then 3 hours goes by, and it seems like an hour, and we're like, what just happened? And I'm a digression master. Anybody who knows me knows that. So yeah, you have to. Questions are better. Yeah, questions are better at certain periods of time, and not because I will answer them, and they'll get 5 stories later, and then you'll go back to the topic now. So sunlight. Oh, we'll just start with this then. There's various ways to capture sunlight. I've discovered. I've been surfing since